Good day everybody, this is Pillar from Tales Productions and welcome back to Star Trek Online. This is a free-to-play account playing through the story of a 23rd century Starfleet officer. In fact, just having finished the story of a 23rd century Starfleet officer. This will be the review of the final storyline that we went through, which is New Frontiers. Obviously I've already said I will repeat it in this video, but the Gamma Quadrant storyline I won't be putting as videos out onto this playthrough because I already have them on the Jem'Hadar one, so I didn't want to double them up. So this playthrough will be ending with the end of New Frontiers. I'll obviously be playing through Gamma Quadrant so that I'm ready for any future expansions that come out, but it just won't be in the playthrough. So I want to go through a quick review of the storyline and New Frontiers in general. Now, if you've seen any of these reviews before, you'll know they're very, very short videos, normally around 10 minutes depending on what I do afterwards. This one might be around that length, even though the review of New Frontiers will be a bit quicker, I think, than others. I also want to go through what I plan to do with the future of this playthrough and this character. But the shorter video length can be annoying to some people, so I apologise if you guys don't like it, but it is just a very specific video about a review for the New Frontier storyline. So the structure for this will be, I'm going to go through the storyline itself, because I've been saying from the very beginning, the story for each of these sort of seasons, I think they were called, is going to be the main thing for me. The storyline is always the main thing as far as I'm concerned in Star Trek. I was never into the whole CGI aspect of it, the big battles or anything like that. Storyline is what it's all about. So that's what's drawn me to this and what I tend to review and criticise or critique, let's say, the most. I'll then look at mechanics. Now this has become something worth talking about within the last sort of 4 or 5 storylines, so definitely worth bringing up again. I'll talk about difficulty again, but I think I've been saying the same thing for sort of 4 or 5 storylines, so probably not worth having in there, but I will talk about it again. And then finally the polish and bugs and all the normal stuff that we talk about at the end of a review that always makes it a bit more fun. So let's say first about the storyline. So in the last sort of 2 or 3 that I've reviewed, I've mentioned that the main thing I've thought about how good they were was in reference to the scope of the storyline. So everything had a sort of overarching effect on the galaxy, and the whole galaxy was in sort of a war or was being taken, and like the Vardois were being controlled by the Iconians, and then the massive Iconian war, and then Future Proof is obviously for not just the galaxy but the whole time of the galaxy. It's massive, epic scope, and New Frontiers does away with that a little bit, at least the very start. So let's say the first half of it. You would normally think that because I've used the scope and the epic scope of the last sort of 3 or 4 as being a massive bonus, that if it didn't have that, I'd call that a negative. But in this case, it really isn't. It having a smaller scope is actually incredibly good for what it is. It kind of brings you back to how you should be feeling about a Star Trek episode or a Star Trek series. And it really kind of... Is it nostalgia? I don't know if that actually is nostalgia. I know the word could apply to this situation, but I'm not sure if that's really what it is. It really just has that sort of feel. So when you play through the first episode of New Frontiers is the classic, the one that really sort of hits it home. Playing through that really makes you feel like you're playing a Star Trek game, which I think is lost somewhere after halfway through the Klingon War. It sometimes doesn't feel like a Star Trek game anymore. Whenever you shoot at a ship before trying to open hailing frequencies and trying to talk to them, that's not Star Trek. It's Star Wars more than Star Trek. And but because that would be a bit boring in a game, that's obviously not how it works. But that does take away from it, and New Frontiers kind of brings that back a little bit, which is really good. Really, really good. And also, storyline-wise, they do a good job of doing a bit of wrapping up. So they obviously bring in the Lucari, so that's not necessarily wrapping up because they open that storyline. But Survivor wraps up the Tanae sort of being out of position thing, and Sela and Tasha Yar. That's really super cool. The whole Enterprise C storyline, absolutely loved it. And that does get finished off, essentially. That's great. Martok and what happened to him also gets all wrapped up and finished off. The Nexus was such a weird one. It didn't wrap up anything. It sort of opened up a lot of questions and was a bit of a strange episode to have in there, but I'm thinking that's because, like, we talked about this on the stream chat a little bit, because it's level 16, we're sort of thinking, I think someone confirmed, that this was meant to be originally in the Klingon War or Wasteland or Romulan Mystery or something further down the list, but they decided to put it in here for some reason. Don't know. Maybe just because Geordie LaForge shows up on it, so it fits into his sort of storyline. Interesting. But after that, we get more into the Zenkethi storyline, which then adds to that sort of big scope again. It brings you back out of the exploration and Star Trek goodness and takes you back into a big epic storyline, which is fine. I'm not saying one way is the right way to have done this. I've really enjoyed the epic scope of the others. I really enjoyed the more Star Trek-y feel to the start of this, and I still enjoyed when it progressed then into a bigger storyline. Really cool. I like the way it was done. Massive fan. Really good. Liked it a lot. So I think that's a good point then to come on to mechanics. So throughout New Frontiers, in fact, there were a few new mechanics. I liked it. I liked it a lot. The Survivor had a few little puzzles with the time bubbles on the planet. That was cool. Really cool. Oh, and this isn't actually a mechanics thing. Should I talk about this now? Yeah, I'll fit it into the storyline part. So the ground zones that you were allowed to go to. So starting off, I think the first one you really see as massively impressive is Of Science and Portents. It's the reddish sort of planet. And that, honestly, as soon as you beam down, you see straight away, this is something different. This is just great. So every one after that, the ground zones are so well done. That is a massive step up from anything previously. Huge step up. I know they got in a new ground designer person to do all of that, but that shouldn't be that big a difference. Whoever that is, they've done a fantastic job. But I'd also have assumed that they've built a new engine, and the programming and the structure of the tools they're using, that's all completely different, but I don't see that it was. If all of that difference was just getting a new guy in, that new guy is awesome. Absolutely incredible. So all through these 3 missions, in fact, were the big sort of signs that something special was happening. Survivor with all the sort of brushes and stuff around. Of Science and Portents, obviously the red planet, that was cool. And then Mirrors and Smoke with the industrial smog planet. That was so good. And Brushfire as well, but you're always within a prison, so there's only so much they could have done with that. But yeah, and then, wow, then it even just gets better because you get the inside of, the Galaxy class, wasn't it? Yeah, the Next Generation Enterprise. Absolutely brilliant. Another one that's incredibly well done. So design-wise, for ground and the internals of a ship, what's the right word for that? Internal? Yeah, let's call it that. That was so well done, so incredibly well done. They were great. Loved it a lot. Great. So yeah, mechanics-wise, also, they had the whole Survivor thing, a few new puzzles in that as well that were absolutely brilliant. I think in Brushfire there were a few slightly new mechanics as well, because you were sort of tied, weren't you? You were in handcuffs and trying to get away from the turrets as well. That was a fairly new mechanic, a bit different, always good. But the big one was the Renegade's Regret, where you were acting out Neth Par's sort of history or story or memory. And that was incredibly well done. Really cool, really fun. I like how they did that as well. Were there any more? There probably were. But mechanics-wise, I'd rate this as far as bringing in new mechanics and showing me new things. This has got to be one of the best storylines there has been for that. The last sort of 4 or 5 have all been good for that, but this one's just taken the cake. Really, really good. Massive fan. Next on the list is the difficulty. So it's going to be exactly the same as the others, unfortunately. So again, for the last sort of 3 or 4, maybe 5 storylines, I have not struggled at all, not found it difficult. But that is a massive difference to the Borg and the end of the Breen story and the Borg story, I think it was, where I was dying in every mission. I'd die 3 or 4 times to each Borg cube that we faced in Borg Advance. So I'm happy that it's not that, but just not struggling at all and finding it a little bit easy isn't necessarily just as bad, but you know, it could be improved upon, making it a little bit more difficult, especially because by the time you get to New Frontiers, you have you got to have done a lot of the previous stuff that gives you all of the benefits that I've got? I'm not sure. You probably could just jump to this actually, so I guess maybe they have to take into account that you might not have like the extra bridge officers with the new specialist abilities and traits and stuff. So I'm not sure how they'd balance it, but difficulty wise, very, very easy. Very, very easy. Not necessarily a bad thing though. I know you can raise difficulties yourself, but should the easiest setting even be this easy is the question. I'm not sure, but I have to put difficulty down as very, very easy. I don't think, in fact, it's an interesting thing. I died a lot while leveling up, but since getting my new tier 6 ship, I don't think it's been destroyed. I might be wrong. I might have to look back through the videos actually and see if that's wrong, but I think that's pretty much the case. So maybe it's just because I've got the tier 6 ship with the trait and it's fully mastered now. So yeah, it has become quite easy, and maybe that balancing needs a little bit of a look at. The final thing is the polish. So how many bugs we see. Now this became one of my favourite segments of the review very early on, because all the way through the Klingon, Wasteland, Romulan Mystery, Cardassians, the Breen Invasion, all of them had a lot of bugs. But I think this may be the first storyline. Oh no, I've just remembered one. I was going to say this will be the first storyline that I never saw a bug. And I've talked to chat about this a minute ago. People agree. We can't remember any bugs, but I've just remembered that in Survivor, I was jumping behind a tree, I think, and got stuck. Not necessarily a bug, just the design of the of where that tree is allowed me to get stuck. I mean, I have to call it a bug. I think you shouldn't get trapped as such, but still, one bug that is only kind of a bug in this whole storyline. I think that's incredible. A real massive step up as far as the polish goes, and going in the right direction. I mean, I've played through the Gamma Quadrant storyline already on my Jem'Hadar, and I feel the same for that. There were a couple of bugs with it being brand new, but really, really good. Really, really good still. Polish-wise, they've obviously taken a step in the right direction. Love it. Also, that's one thing also to mention about the storyline, is the last couple of episodes, with me obviously already having played the Gamma Quadrant storyline, I know about the Zenkathi and how they come into the next storyline. It was a little bit weird how in Scylla and Charybdis, the space station, when it was the Zenkathi space station that was fighting Deep Space Nine, how that sort of fit in, and that was actually the first mission of Gamma Quadrant, is that, or no, your tutorial, isn't it, sorry, as a Jem'Hadar, is actually you coming into that battle in Scylla and Charybdis. Really interesting the way they do that. I like it. I really like it, but it did confuse me a little bit as to the space station, why it was there, and then the storyline sort of fit together. Because Loris, was it? Yeah, beamed the Nethpar off the ship. That was it. So yeah, how it all fit together was a little bit confusing at the time, but probably only because I've played the Gamma Quadrant storyline already before this, and I shouldn't have. Possibly. But yeah. Well, I think that's all I've got to say about New Frontiers. Was that a little bit disjointed and not as structured as the other reviews? Possibly. I'm not going to say that New Frontiers replaces the Iconian War as my favourite storyline. The Iconian War still wins. And I think it will for a very long time. But New Frontiers had that authentic Federation, Starfleet, Star Trek feel. And it has to have some extra points for that. It definitely wins on authentic Star Trek feel. I really enjoyed that. It felt very different and nostalgic. Go on, I'm going to say it again. Nostalgic. There you go. There's the right word. So that is the review for the New Frontiers. Now, what am I going to do with this character going forward? So I've already said I'm not going to add the Gamma Quadrant storyline to the playthrough. I am going to play through it though. So in the future, as expansions come out, this will be the character that I do that content on and add to that storyline. So this will be essentially my main character, I guess. I am going to change, or I'm going to keep upgrading, let's say, all of the gear. So as upgrade weekends come along, I'll be upgrading all the weapons, trying to get them all to, I think level 15 is the max now, Mark 15, with yellow, this kind of yellowy colour. Is that epic? Yeah, epic, there you go. I'm going to try and go for that, see what I can do. Obviously that's going to be a lot of upgrading away, a lot of farming, but we'll be doing a lot of that, so that's fine. So yeah, all content after this point, anything that's released after this point, will be done on this character and added to this playthrough as well. So even though, so this video might not be the last one in the playthrough if you're watching this in the future, but right now it is, just right now. But yeah, there you go. So that's what I'm going to do with this character. I'm also going to get that new weapon. So I want to replace this Vardwar Pulse Wave. In fact, I want to replace both of those. So I'll find a way to do that as well. There you go. But that's what's going to happen with this character. This playthrough will continue as new content is released. And the Age of Discovery expansion is coming out, some people are saying about a month from now. So we'll have to see when that's done and when I can continue this. But that's it. For now, that's this playthrough complete. That's it. Done. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you very, very much. Thank you. Seriously, thank you for watching. I'm amazed. I love it. Thank you so much. I really do hope you've enjoyed, you are enjoying, and you will enjoy. But by far, the most important thing is to look forward to the next playthrough, series, episodes of Star Trek Online.